They thought she was harmless, just a quiet new girl sitting in the back row, easy target, no threat. Until the bullies slapped her across the chest in front of the whole class, laughing like they owned the school. But here's the twist. The girl they mocked wasn't fragile. She was a fearsome fighter who spent years hiding a past that could break them in seconds. And when they pushed her one step too far, they didn't just cross a line, they lit the fuse. Where are you watching this from? Drop your country in the comments and stay till the end. The final payoff won't disappoint you. The air inside room 2B at Brookshire High always felt a little too still, like the walls were holding their breath. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, casting thin stripes across rows of desks filled with restless juniors waiting for the bell to ring. Miss Reynolds stood at the front, flipping through her lesson notes on the Reconstruction era, unaware of the storm brewing right behind her. Zara Thompson sat near the middle row, quiet, observant, and clearly the new girl everyone had been whispering about since first period. Her navy blue notebook was open, pen poised, eyes focused on the board as if she were trying to blend into the walls themselves. But Brookshire High was not a place where new students disappeared quietly. Not when Chase Dalton was in the room. Chase, tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a bright varsity jacket with a smug grin permanently painted across his face, had been watching her since she walked in. Mason and Tyler, his two shadows, exchanged nudges, smirks, and low whispers every few minutes. Zara ignored them, or tried to, but predators loved when prey pretended not to notice. Miss Reynolds turned to write on the board. That was all the invitation Chase needed. He pushed his chair back slowly, scraping it across the floor on purpose, drawing attention not to himself, but to the girl he was about to humiliate. Mason snickered. Tyler mouthed, "Do it." Chase strolled toward Zara with exaggerated confidence, hands tucked casually in his pockets. "Hey, new girl," he said loudly, leaning closer than necessary. "You always sit this straight? Looks like you're trying to impress someone." Zara didn't respond. She simply shifted her gaze away, her jaw tightening a little. That only fueled him. "Oh? Too good to answer?" Chase sneered, chuckling cruelly. "Or maybe you're just scared." He suddenly reached forward, and with the entire class watching, slapped the front of her shirt, right across her chest. Not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to disrespect. The sound echoed. Conversations died instantly. Desks creaked as heads snapped toward them. Zara froze. Her fingers curled inward. Her shoulders stiffened. But her eyes, those eyes ignited like someone had struck a match inside her. Chase smirked, enjoying the attention, enjoying her silence. "See? She's nothing. Just another soft—" He raised his hand again, ready for a second slap. He never made contact. Zara's hand shot up like lightning, gripping his wrist inches before it could touch her. A movement so fast and precise it didn't look accidental. It looked trained. Chase blinked, stunned. He tried to pull his hand back, but her grip held him in place, not tight enough to hurt, but firm enough to warn. The class erupted in gasps. "Bro, what the hell?" Mason whispered harshly. "Did you see how fast she moved?" A girl near the front whispered to another. Chase's face twisted, caught between anger and confusion. His ego had never been touched like this, literally or figuratively. No one grabbed Chase Dalton. No one. Zara didn't say a word. She simply stared into his eyes with a calmness that felt threatening, a stillness that rattled him more than if she had screamed. For a moment, Chase looked like he might back away. For a moment, the class saw fear flicker across his face. Miss Reynolds finally turned around. "What's going on back there?" Zara released Chase's wrist before the teacher could see, leaving him stumbling 2 steps back, exposed and humiliated. He clenched his jaw, blood rising in his cheeks, as Mason and Tyler rushed to his side. "Konbanai la I mazam namtai." Chase Dalton trukalup, someone whispered behind them. Chase didn't answer. He just stared at Zara, eyes narrowing with a new kind of focus, not amusement, but calculation. Because now he knew something was off, and he hated what he didn't understand. But Chase wasn't done. Not even close. That brief moment of resistance had triggered something darker in him and in Mason and Tyler. From that point forward, they began watching Zara more closely, noticing things about her no one else had, things that would soon push the situation far beyond a simple classroom humiliation. The West Wing of Brookshire High always felt different after the final bell. Quieter, emptier, the perfect place for things to happen where teachers wouldn't see. Footsteps echoed down the long corridor, bouncing off rows of metallic lockers that stretched into the distance. Zara walked alone, her bag slung over one shoulder, her pace steady but cautious. She had stayed a few minutes late in history class to avoid attention, but trouble had a way of finding her. And today, it found her faster than expected. Halfway down the hallway, she heard the unmistakable slam of a door behind her. Then another, followed by laughter, sharp, mocking, meant to intimidate. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Chase Dalton, with Mason and Tyler flanking him like loyal dogs. "Hey, new girl!" Chase called out, his tone dripping with hostility. "You got some nerve touching me in class." Zara stopped but didn't turn. Her fingers tightened around her backpack strap. She could feel the weight of their footsteps approaching, slow and heavy, as if they were savoring the moment. Chase stepped in front of her, blocking the path. Mason and Tyler closed in behind, forming a wall. Claire, a timid girl from Zara's English class, peeked from the far end of the hall. She froze, unsure whether to help or hide. She chose the latter, backing into a classroom doorway. Chase grinned, leaning in so close that Zara could smell the cheap mint gum he always chewed. "What's wrong? Too shy to talk? Or," he glanced at her skin, smirking, "just used to keeping your head down where you came from?" Mason laughed. Tyler whistled low. "Oh man, Chase is right. Look at her. She thinks she's something." Zara stayed silent, not because she was afraid, but because she was calculating. Silence only made Chase bolder. "I don't like girls who pretend to be tough," he said, tapping her shoulder hard. "Especially girls who look like you." His voice sharpened on the last word like a blade. Zara lifted her eyes, meeting his stare without flinching. That alone irritated him. "What? You gonna grab my hand again?" Chase taunted. "Do it! I dare you!" When she didn't respond, something snapped inside him. His jaw tightened, and he shoved forward, hand outstretched, aiming to slam her into a locker hard enough to make her yelp. But she didn't hit the locker. She didn't even touch it. Zara moved, not far, not fast. Just a subtle step pivoted to the side, one foot sliding behind the other in a motion so fluid it looked instinctive. Chase's hand cut through empty air. His momentum betrayed him, his body lunging forward uncontrollably as he stumbled toward the locker door. Bam! His shoulder slammed into the metal with a loud clang. Mason's eyes went wide. Tyler's jaw dropped. Chase spun around, furious but also shaken. How did you do that?" he snapped, rubbing his shoulder. Zara didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her movement spoke for itself. "Sao một cô gái bình thường lại có phản xạ như võ sĩ chuyên nghiệp," Mason muttered under his breath, confused and unnerved. Before anyone could react further, the stern voice of the hallway monitor interrupted. "Is there a problem here, Mr.?" Green stepped out from a side office, eyes narrowing at the scene. Chase straightened immediately, masking his anger with a fake smile. "No problem, sir. Just welcoming the new student." "Mr." Green didn't believe him, but Chase's family had influence, everyone knew it. "Get moving, all of you," the monitor ordered. Reluctantly, Chase backed away, but his eyes stayed locked on Zara like a promise of something worse to come. As the boys retreated, Clara hurried over, whispering, "Are you okay? That was what you did. How did you even move like that?" Zara shook her head. It was nothing. But Clara didn't buy it, and neither did anyone else. By the next morning, the story had already traveled across the school. A new girl dodging Chase Dalton like a trained fighter? That kind of rumor didn't stay small. And soon, it reached the ears of people Zara never wanted to notice her. The cheerleading field behind Brookshire High glowed under the afternoon sun, the artificial turf almost too bright to look at. The rhythmic thump of music blasted from portable speakers as the cheer squad rehearsed their routine, tossing flyers into the air with polished smiles and flawless timing. It was a place of perfect hair, perfect uniforms, perfect reputations, and absolutely no room for someone like Zara Thompson. Zara only meant to take a shortcut across the field on her way to the bus stop. She kept her head low, her steps quick, hoping no one would notice her. But at Brookshire, invisibility was a luxury she never had, especially when Brielle King was around. Brielle, the blonde, tall, razor-sharp captain of the cheer squad, spotted Zara immediately, her smirk forming like a reflex. Surrounded by her uniformed entourage, she radiated confidence and cruelty in equal measure. "Well, well," Brielle called out loudly, flipping her ponytail. "Look who decided to wander into our space." The music lowered. All eyes shifted toward Zara. The air suddenly felt hotter. Zara stopped walking but didn't engage. Quiet was her armor. Brielle strutted closer, eyeing Zara from head to toe. "What is that outfit?" she scoffed. "Did you thrift it from the lost and found? Or is this like some sort of charity case aesthetic?" The girls behind her giggled on cue. "And the skin tone?" Brielle added, tilting her head. I didn't know Brookshire was accepting everybody now. How progressive." A shrill wave of forced laughter followed. It wasn't just about humiliation, it was about establishing dominance. Zara inhaled slowly, her jaw tightening. She had dealt with girls like this before, the ones who hid their insecurities behind glitter and lip gloss. But the sting of Brielle's words still cut deeper than she expected. "Say something," Brielle taunted. "Come on, don't just stand there." But Zara didn't. She kept her expression unreadable. That only irritated Brielle more. "You know," Brielle continued, stepping close enough that her shadow fell across Zara, "I heard some interesting things about you." Zara stiffened. "Oh, yes," Brielle said, lowering her voice dramatically. "Zara Amara Thompson." Zara's eyes snapped up instantly. Amara. That name wasn't public. It wasn't even on school records. It was the middle name she used only during martial arts competitions years ago before she vanished from the circuit. A name tied to a life she'd tried to bury. Brielle's smirk widened when she saw the reaction. "Oh, did I hit a nerve?" she cooed. "What? Didn't think anyone here would know your little secret?" Zara's pulse spiked. "Where did you hear that name?" she asked, trying to keep her voice controlled. Brielle shrugged innocently. "Oh, you'd be surprised what people tell me. I have sources," the cheerleaders whispered among themselves. Some gasped. Others stared like Zara had suddenly transformed into something dangerous, something unknown. Zara forced herself to stay still, but inside, alarms were blaring. Brielle wasn't guessing. Someone had told her. Someone who knew. And that meant Zara wasn't just being targeted randomly, someone was digging into her past. "Anyway," Brielle finished, flipping her ponytail again, "you should watch your step around here. Not everyone is thrilled about having a mystery girl on campus, especially one with a temper." Zara didn't take the bait. She simply turned and walked away, leaving Brielle staring after her, annoyed she didn't get a bigger reaction. But Zara didn't feel victorious. She felt exposed, vulnerable, and hunted. As she left the field, she whispered to herself, "How does Brielle know the name Amara? Who told her? How could Brielle know a past Zara had buried so deeply?" Zara knew one thing for certain: someone inside Brookshire was deliberately prying into her history. And whoever it was, wasn't done yet. Brookshire High's cafeteria buzzed with the chaotic energy of lunchtime students shouting across tables, chairs scraping against the floor, trays clattering, and the low hum of gossip spreading faster than the food lines. Zara walked in quietly, carrying her lunch tray with the hope of blending into the background. But fate, once again, had different plans. She chose an empty table near the corner, close to the windows. Her posture was straight, calm, almost too composed for someone trying to stay invisible. She had barely taken a sip of water before she noticed the sudden shift in atmosphere, whispers heightening, eyes darting toward the entrance. Chase Dalton had arrived. Flanked by Mason and Tyler, he marched toward Zara's table with a look that promised trouble. The cafeteria seemed to split around them like waves parting for a storm. Students leaned back, sensing drama, ready to record if things got loud. And trailing behind Brielle King, arms folded, watching with an expression far too entertained, Zara kept her gaze down, pretending not to notice the trio approaching, but she felt the tension thickening, pressing into her lungs like a weight. Chase stopped right in front of her, towering above her seat. "Well, look who thinks she can walk around like nothing happened yesterday," he sneered, placing his tray on the table with a loud bang. "You embarrassed me in the hallway. In front of everyone." Zara didn't respond. Silence was her shield. "Oh, right," Chase said mockingly. "I forgot. You're too good to talk to people like us." Mason chuckled. Tyler smirked. Brielle smoothed her ponytail as if settling in for a show. Then Chase picked up his tray again, tilting it slightly. A plate of pasta, a cup of soda, a scoop of mashed potatoes, all aiming directly at Zara. "You should really learn your place," Chase snarled, raising the tray higher. "Let me help you understand it." Gasps erupted across the cafeteria. Brielle smiled. Mason whispered, "Do it." Tyler lifted his phone, already recording. Chase swung the tray downward, aiming to drench Zara's shirt, her hair, her face, anything to leave her humiliated. But the food never touched her, because Zara moved. Her hand shot upward, fingers locking around the edge of the tray with shocking precision. She didn't smack it away. She didn't flinch. She simply held it in place effortlessly. The cafeteria froze. Students stopped mid-bite. Forks hovered in mid-air. Tyler's phone lowered slightly, disbelief written across his face. Mason's mouth dropped open. Chase blinked in confusion. "What?" Zara's grip remained calm, steady. The tray didn't spill a single drop. It stayed perfectly balanced between them, suspended in a moment that felt unreal. One girl whispered loudly, "Did you see that? That was like trained reflexes." Another student muttered, "A bullied kid can't do that. Not unless she's not as weak as she looks." Chase's face reddened with embarrassment. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. He was supposed to make Zara look pathetic, not the other way around. "Let go," he growled under his breath, tugging at the tray. Zara didn't move. For a split second, their eyes locked, his filled with anger and insecurity, hers cold, controlled, unshaken. Zara gently pushed the tray back toward him, not violently, not dramatically, just enough to force Chase to stumble one step backward, almost dropping it himself. A burst of laughter rippled through the cafeteria. Chase's humiliation hit harder than any punch. He slammed the tray down on a nearby table, spaghetti splattering across the floor. The laughter grew louder, his neck flushed crimson. "You think you're smart?" he spat. "You think you're tough?" Zara stayed silent. Brielle stepped forward, whispering in Chase's ear, "She's making you look stupid. In front of everyone." That was enough. Chase pointed at Zara, eyes burning with fury. "This isn't over. Not even close." He stormed out of the cafeteria, Mason and Tyler scrambling after him. A bullied girl shouldn't be able to stop an attack like that, unless she isn't weak at all. But Chase's shame didn't fade, it festered, and humiliation has a way of turning into something more dangerous. He would soon plan something bigger, something darker, something he believed would finally put Zara in her place. The gym at Brookshire High was unusually silent after school hours. No bouncing basketballs, no squeaking sneakers, no echoing laughter. Just the faint buzz of the overhead lights humming against the polished wooden floor. Zara stepped inside cautiously, the air thick with the sterile smell of disinfectant and sweat. She had been requested to come down by a note slipped into her locker signed by Coach Henderson. She didn't trust it, but she also couldn't afford to ignore a staff summons, especially after the cafeteria incident that already had half the school talking. Zara pushed the gym doors open. Only 2 people waited inside. Coach Henderson, broad-shouldered, mid-40 seconds, with a stern expression carved into his face like stone. and standing beside him, leaning casually against the bleachers with a phone already in hand, Brielle King. Zara's suspicions hardened instantly. "Glad you made it," Coach Henderson said. His voice was deep but unreadable. "I heard you had a physical altercation recently. I need to run a quick assessment. Standard protocol." Zara blinked. "Assessment?" Brielle smirked. "Yeah, you know, to make sure you're not secretly fragile or something." The camera on her phone was already recording. Zara's stomach tightened. This was a setup. A test she wasn't meant to pass. "What exactly do you want me to do?" Zara asked calmly. "Just some basic movements," Coach Henderson replied. "Footwork, balance, reflex evaluation. Nothing complicated." But Zara knew better. Basic movements could reveal a lot. Brielle sauntered closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "Don't worry, new girl, just try your best. I'm sure you'll give us something interesting." The way she dragged out the last word made Zara's skin prickle. Coach Henderson gestured toward the center of the floor. "Let's begin. Show me how you move. Imagine you're avoiding an attack." Zara hesitated. This was the exact thing she had been avoiding. The movements her body knew too well. Movements she'd trained since childhood, but buried deep after she left the competitive MMA circuit. Her muscles remembered everything, even when she wanted them to forget. "Go on," Brielle taunted. "Or are you scared?" Zara inhaled sharply. No choice now. She stepped forward. At first, she tried to keep the movements neutral. Light pivots, simple side steps, casual shifts of weight. Nothing that screamed, trained fighter, nothing recognizable. But instinct is a dangerous thing. When Coach Henderson tossed a soft training pad toward her unexpectedly, Zara's reflexes betrayed her. She spun. Not a clumsy turn, not a hesitant pivot. A perfectly controlled MMA evasive rotation. Right foot sliding behind left, shoulders rotating, chin tucked, body shifting to open stance in a flawless defensive angle. The pad hit the ground 2 feet away. Brielle's phone froze mid-record as her eyes went wide. Coach Henderson's expression shifted for the first time, brows lifting, jaw tensing, eyes sharpening with recognition. "That," he said slowly, stepping closer, "is not the movement of a novice." Zara's heart thumped hard. She didn't speak. Henderson circled her like a trainer, evaluating a fighter. "You pivoted on the ball of your foot. You angled your body off the center line. That was a sweep prevention stance. And that spin." He paused. "Only someone trained would do that." Brielle lowered the phone, confused. "What does that even mean?" Coach Henderson didn't answer her. He looked at Zara with a gaze that felt like an X-ray. "I've coached youth fighters for 20 years, he said, "and I've only ever seen that level of instinct in one type of student, those who've been training since childhood." Zara swallowed. Hard, stepped back, suspicion flickering across her face. "So what? She's like some kind of fighter?" Henderson didn't confirm it. He didn't need to. His silence was confirmation enough. Zara felt exposed again, stripped bare, her past peeking out from cracks she had tried so hard to seal. A national MMA coach once trained a child who moved exactly like that. As Zara walked out of the gym, she could feel Henderson's eyes following her, calculating, analyzing, and she knew with icy certainty that he wouldn't let this go. He would dig deeper, much deeper into who she really was. The vice principal's office always smelled like old carpet and stale paperwork, heavy, suffocating, like a place where conversations went to die. Zara sat in a rigid wooden chair outside the door, her backpack on her lap, fingers clasped tightly together. The hallway was quiet except for the ticking of the wall clock, each second stretching the tension like a wire about to snap. She already knew why she'd been summoned: instigating conflict, causing disturbances, physical aggression. None of it true, yet all of it convenient for people who didn't want to see the real story. The office door opened with a click. Mr. Green, the strict hallway monitor, gave her a curt nod. "Thompson, inside." Zara stood up, her shoulders squared even though her stomach knotted tightly. She stepped into the office, the fluorescent lights revealing two men waiting for her. Mr. Green, arms crossed, and Coach Henderson, standing near the filing cabinets, expression unreadable but eyes razor-sharp. "Sit," Mr. Green instructed. Zara took her seat, her pulse thudding softly against her ribs. "We've had several reports," Mr. Green began, flipping through a stack of papers. "Altercations, disruptions, physical confrontations, all involving you." Zara swallowed. "I didn't start anything." "That's what they all say," Mr. Green said coldly. Coach Henderson didn't sit. He hovered near the filing drawers like a shadow, quiet, observant. His presence felt both protective and dangerous, and Zara couldn't tell which side he was leaning toward. Green continued, "Your teachers say you've been involved in multiple incidents since last week. You need to understand, Miss Thompson, Brookshire High has zero tolerance for violence." Zara opened her mouth to speak, but Henderson cut in. "May I see her file?" he asked. Green hesitated. "Her record is private. I need to know what we're dealing with." "For safety reasons," Henderson insisted. Slowly, reluctantly, Green unlocked a cabinet and began searching through the folders. "It's thin," he muttered. "She transferred mid-semester. Not much included in the initial transfer packet, but we did receive supplemental documents yesterday." "Yesterday?" Zara repeated, confused and alarmed. Green pulled out a small beige folder labeled Thompson, Zara M. Coach Henderson's eyes narrowed at the middle initial. He murmured. He took the file from Green and opened it. What he saw inside made his breath hitch. A certificate, a clipped newspaper article, a laminated ID badge from an old youth tournament, and a name written in bold letters, Zara Amara Thompson. National Junior MMA champion. Henderson stared at the photo attached to the certificate. A younger Zara, smaller, but with the same fire in her eyes, standing on a podium, medal around her neck. But the headline printed below the picture chilled him. "Rising MMA prodigy disappears from competition after father's scandal." Green raised an eyebrow. "Anything important?" Henderson didn't answer immediately. His jaw clenched as he read more. Coach Adrian Thompson, accused of unethical training practices and falsifying fighter ages. Tournament revoked. Family vanished from the circuit shortly after. Zara's cheeks burned. She hadn't seen those headlines in years, and she had prayed that no one at Brookshire would ever see them. Green sighed. "Well, that explains the aggressive behavior," Zara snapped. "I'm not aggressive." But Henderson closed the file gently, his eyes softer now, not judgmental, but conflicted. "She's not aggressive," he said quietly. "She's trained." Zara looked away. Coach Henderson exhaled slowly, the weight of recognition settling into his voice. "You're not just a fighter," he said. "You're a prodigy, a kid who could have gone national, maybe further." Green stiffened. "That doesn't excuse, that explains everything." Henderson cut him off. Zara felt exposed, stripped down. Her past, one she buried, sealed, and swore to forget, lay wide open in the middle of the vice principal's office. The silence grew thick until Green finally said, "Regardless of your history, Miss Thompson, any more trouble, and you'll face suspension." Zara nodded numbly, her throat dry. "Dismissed," Green said. She left quickly, wanting nothing more than to escape those fluorescent lights. As the door closed behind her, the two men exchanged looks. Green suspicious, Henderson contemplative. Because Henderson knew the truth now. Zara wasn't just a fighter, she was a combat genius, a disappeared champion, a storm waiting to be unleashed. But Chase Dalton didn't know any of that, and he was about to make the most reckless move of his life. The parking lot of Brookshire High stretched wide under the fading afternoon sun, the asphalt still warm from the day's heat. Students trickled out in groups, laughing, complaining, blasting music from car speakers, but the tension in the air near the far corner of the lot felt different, heavier, sharper, like something was coiling in the shadows, waiting to strike. Chase Dalton stood beside his black pickup truck, arms crossed, face twisted with anger that had been simmering since the cafeteria disaster. The humiliation still stung. The whispers, the snickers, the looks. Zara's calm defiance had cut deeper than any insult ever could. "She made you look like an idiot, man," Mason muttered, pacing back and forth. Tyler added, "Everyone's talking about it. The way she caught your tray? Dude, people think she's some kind of freak." Chase's jaw tightened. Not for long. Brielle King approached them, her steps confident, her expression calculated. She wasn't here for sympathy, she was here for entertainment. She flicked her hair over her shoulder and leaned casually against Chase's truck. "So," she said lightly, "what's the plan? Please tell me it's something good." Chase's eyes hardened. "We're going to wait for her. She walks through the back lot every day to get to the bus stop. No teachers, no cameras." Mason grinned, already imagining the scene. "So we just grab her?" "Not grab," Chase corrected, voice low. "Humiliate, like she humiliated me." Tyler laughed under his breath. "This is going to be great." But Brielle wasn't fully satisfied. "You know what would make it even better?" she said, pulling out her phone and tapping the screen. "Proof," Chase frowned. "Proof?" Brielle flashed him a wicked smile. "I'm going to record everything. The whole school will see her true colors. The moment she panics. The moment she breaks. No mysterious reflexes. No lucky moves, just the real Zara Thompson." Her words dripped with venom disguised as sweetness. Mason hesitated. "Isn't that risky?" Brielle rolled her eyes. "Relax, all we're doing is scaring her. Maybe pushing her a little. Nothing serious." She looked at Chase. "Unless you plan on doing something serious?" Chase didn't answer directly, but the look in his eyes said, "Enough." He was done holding back. The four of them watched as a crowd of students began to drift away from the main entrance, some heading to cars, others to the sidewalks. Chase scanned the area impatiently. "She should be out any minute," he muttered. Brielle zoomed in the camera. "I want a good angle." But beneath her excitement was something else, curiosity. Something about Zara bothered her. Those reflexes, that calmness, the way she didn't crumble under pressure like most targets did. "Just tell me," Brielle said suddenly. "Did she really dodge you in the hallway like they said?" Chase scowled. "Don't remind me. So she is fast." Brielle's smile faded. "We better be careful," Tyler snorted. "Careful? She's tiny. There's 4 of us." "Yeah," Mason chimed in. "What's she going to do? Lecture us?" Brielle didn't respond. She kept her eyes on the entrance, thumbs ready on the record button. A hush fell among them as the campus began to empty, leaving long shadows stretching across the cracked pavement. The air cooled, the wind pushing loose flyers and dust across the lot. Then Chase spotted her. Zara, walking alone, head lowered slightly, backpack slung over one shoulder, moving toward the very path they expected her to take. Chase's lips curled into a satisfied smile. "There she is." Mason and Tyler squared their shoulders. Brielle lifted her phone. "Let's move," Chase commanded. They slipped between parked cars, positioning themselves across the walkway like a trap closing in. Brielle stayed back, raising her camera with a practiced angle. "She has no idea," Mason whispered. "She's done," Tyler added. Chase cracked his knuckles. Time to put her back in her place. But none of them understood what they were walking into. Because they weren't about to corner a victim, they were about to awaken a predator. As Zara stepped deeper into the parking lot, a ripple of whispers followed her. A handful of curious students trailed behind at a distance, sensing something big was about to happen, something they couldn't look away from. The narrow alley behind Brookshire High's athletic complex was the kind of place where trouble hid easily, silent, dim, and isolated from the rest of the campus. Faded graffiti stained the brick walls. Old equipment crates sat abandoned near the dumpsters. Wind funneled through the gap between buildings, carrying the distant echo of students leaving the parking lot. Zara stepped into the alley, her footsteps soft and steady. She didn't know she was walking into a trap. Or maybe, deep down, she did. Her instincts had been buzzing all day like invisible alarms ringing inside her ribs, but she kept walking. Behind her, Chase, Mason, and Tyler moved like wolves circling prey. Brielle hung back near the corner. Phone raised. Already recording. A faint red dot blinked on the screen. "This is perfect," she whispered to herself. Zara reached the midpoint of the alley when she heard the scrape of shoes behind her. She turned. Too late. Chase lunged, grabbing the back of her backpack and yanking hard. Zara stumbled, catching herself against the wall. Chase stepped into her space, blocking the exit with his broad frame. Well, he growled. "Thought you could embarrass me twice and get away with it?" Mason and Tyler closed in from the sides, forming a triangle around her. Tyler cracked his knuckles. Mason smirked like he was watching a show he had paid for. Zara lifted her chin. "Move." Chase slammed his palm against the wall beside her head, making the bricks tremble. "You're not giving orders here," he snapped. "You made me look weak in front of the whole school." Zara's voice stayed calm. "Let me go, Chase." But Chase wasn't listening. Fury clouded his judgment. Humiliation poisoned his thoughts, and his ego, massive and fragile, was splintering under the pressure. "You think you're tough?" he hissed. "You think you're better than me?" He shoved her again, this time with both hands pinning her to the wall. Pain shot up her shoulder. Brielle zoomed in her camera. "Yes," she whispered. "That's it. Show everyone what she really is." Chase grabbed Zara's arm, squeezing hard. "Let's see how fast you move now." That was his mistake. That was the moment everything shifted. Zara's eyes snapped open, sharp, focused, predatory. A switch flipped inside her. Not rage, not panic. Training. Pure. Drilled in from childhood training. "Don't," she warned, her voice low. "Touch me again." Chase tightened his grip. Zara exploded. In less than a second, she twisted her wrist inward, trapping his thumb, and rotated her body, executing a perfect joint lock. Chase screamed as his arm folded unnaturally. Mason stepped forward, but Zara dropped low, sweeping his legs out with a sharp pivot of her heel. He hit the ground with a heavy thud. Tyler rushed in from the right. Zara spun, using Chase's trapped arm as leverage, flipping her body around his center of gravity. She released him mid-turn and he crashed into Tyler, both of them collapsing against the opposite wall. 4 seconds had passed. Chase roared and tried to get up. Zara was faster. She slid forward, grabbed the collar of his jacket, and used his momentum to throw him over her shoulder. He hit the concrete flat on his back. The air knocked out of him. 7 seconds. That was all it took. 3 boys, each twice her size, lay sprawled across the alley floor, moaning in pain, staring at her with a mix of shock and fear they didn't know they were capable of feeling. Zara stepped back, breathing controlled, posture steady. She had moved with precision, not aggression, technique, not emotion. Every movement a memory of the girl she once was, the champion she tried to bury. Brielle lowered her phone, stunned, silent. She hadn't recorded a humiliation. She had recorded a revelation. "See, Chase?" Mason groaned. What is she?" Zara didn't answer. She didn't need to. 3 boys twice her size, all lying at Zara's feet. She slung her backpack over her shoulder and walked out of the alley, unaware that a second phone hidden behind a stack of crates had captured everything from a perfect angle. And by sunrise, that video would no longer belong to just one person. It would belong to the entire school. By the next morning, Brookshire High was vibrating with an energy Zara felt the second she stepped through the double doors. Whispers buzzed like electricity. Eyes followed her like she was a ghost walking through her own crime scene. Lockers slammed shut more loudly than usual. Phones hovered suspiciously in hands. Something had shifted, and Zara could feel it. Students parted around her in the hallway, not out of respect, but out of fear, curiosity, and raw anticipation. It was the kind of reaction reserved only for scandals big enough to break the school's social ecosystem in half. And this scandal had a video she hadn't seen yet. Brielle King leaned casually against her locker with two other cheerleaders flanking her, their smiles sharp enough to cut glass. "Well, good morning, superstar," Brielle drawled, waving her phone at Zara. "You're trending." Zara frowned. "What are you talking about?" Brielle smirked. "Oh, don't act innocent. Here, take a look." She turned the screen towards Zara, and Zara instantly understood the storm. The video showed the alley from the night before, but only half of it. A heavily edited half. It began with Chase backing away, looking terrified. Then, cut to Zara, slamming Mason to the ground. Then, another cut of Tyler crashing into a wall. Then Zara using a clean hip throw to flip Chase onto the concrete. There was no sound. No context. No footage of Chase grabbing her, shoving her, pinning her to the wall. Just 7 seconds of pure, brutal efficiency. And worst of all, the caption written in bold white text. "Psycho new girl attacks 3 boys out of nowhere." Zara felt her stomach drop. Brielle had done exactly what she'd planned, weaponized the video. "Looks bad, doesn't it?" Brielle said, sweetly. "Almost like you're dangerous." Students gathered around, watching the clip loop repeatedly. Gasps, laughter, fear. Misinformation spread like wildfire. "She's insane. She's violent. She just snapped on them." Someone said she's been expelled from other schools. "No. I heard she used to fight in underground rings." "Bro, look at how she moves. She's like a monster." The voices blurred together, a storm of lies crashing against Zara's chest. "You edited this," Zara said quietly, keeping her voice firm even as her pulse spiked. "You know the truth." Brielle shrugged. "Truth is subjective, and this version is more entertaining." Zara clenched her jaw. "You weren't even close enough to see everything." "Oh, I saw enough." Brielle leaned in, whispering, "And so will everyone else." But Brielle didn't know one thing. She wasn't the only one recording. A sudden commotion erupted behind them, and a student Zara barely recognized, a quiet sophomore named Jonah, pushed through the crowd, holding his phone high. "That's fake!" Jonah shouted. "I have the full clip." Silence snapped through the hallway like a lightning bolt. Brielle's expression cracked. "Full? What?" she demanded. Jonah swallowed hard but didn't back down. "I was behind the storage crates. I recorded everything. The whole thing." Chase shoved her first. They cornered her. She warned him. They attacked her. She defended herself. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "No way. He's lying. Show us." "Play it." Jonah's thumb hovered over the play button. Elle's eyes widened, panic breaking through the layers of confidence. "Don't you dare." But it was too late. The students surged around Jonah like a tidal wave, demanding to see the truth. Phones angled toward his screen. Brielle grabbed his arm, but he pulled away. The tide was turning, and Brielle felt it slipping out of her manicured hands. Truth and lies had slammed into each other head-on, and only one of them would survive the collision. Within minutes, the hallways erupted. Teachers intervened. Rumors mutated. And before the first bell even rang, the vice principal's voice echoed over the intercom, summoning one name: Zara Thompson. "Report to the office immediately. This is an urgent matter." The school board conference room was colder than anywhere else in Brookshire High, as if the air conditioning had been set to match the atmosphere, sterile, intimidating, unforgiving. Long mahogany tables formed a hollow rectangle, with teachers and administrators seated along the edges, like judges at a trial. A projector hummed in the corner, waiting. Zara stood alone near the center, shoulders tight, hands clasped, heartbeat steady but heavy. She had been here before in different rooms, different schools, different conflicts, but this one felt worse. This time, her past was dangerously close to the surface. On the opposite side, Chase, Mason, and Tyler sat with exaggerated solemnity, all wearing fresh clothes, hair combed neatly, pretending they were victims. Chase even had an arm-sling pure performance, and everyone knew it, except the ones who chose not to. Behind them, Mrs. Alden, the principal, sat in the tallest chair. her expression unreadable. Beside her stood Coach Henderson, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the boys with a stare sharp enough to cut steel. "Mrs." Alden tapped her pen. "Let's begin. Chase, you filed the initial complaint. Speak." Chase stood dramatically, clearing his throat as if preparing for a televised speech. "Thank you, Principal Alden." He shot a glance at Zara, self-satisfied. "Cruel. I want to be clear. I never touched her. I never threatened her. I was just trying to talk. And she snapped." Mason nodded emphatically. "Yeah, she attacked us out of nowhere," Tyler added. "She threw Chase like he was nothing." Chase clutched his fake sling. "I think my shoulder might be fractured." Zara almost laughed at the absurdity, but she held still. Mrs. Alden turned to her. "Miss Thompson, your response." Zara inhaled. "They cornered me. They grabbed me. I defended myself." Chase slammed his hand on the table. "Liar! Sit down," Mrs. Alden warned. But Chase wasn't done. "She's dangerous. You saw the edited clip." "She's..." Coach Henderson finally spoke, edited being the key word. The room fell silent. Mrs. Alden frowned. "Coach?" Henderson stepped forward, placing a USB drive on the table like a piece of evidence in a courtroom drama. "I have the full footage," he said. "No cuts, no edits, no manipulation." Chase's face drained of color. "Wait. What?" Henderson ignored him and plugged the drive into the projector. The room dimmed as the screen lit up. The video began. The real video. Chase grabbing Zara's backpack. Chase shoving her. Chase pinning her to the wall. Mason and Tyler closing in. Zara warning them twice. Chase grabbing her again. And only then the explosion of movement. The precision. The reflexes. The throws. The takedowns. Everything exactly as it happened. No sound except breathing. No glamour. No edits. Just truth. When the clip ended, no one spoke. Not the board members. Not Mason. Not Tyler. And certainly not Chase, who stared at the table as if it might swallow him. "Mrs. Alden folded her hands slowly. "Chase, would you like to revise your statement?" He didn't answer. "Chase?" she repeated, firmer. He swallowed. I didn't mean to hurt her." "So, you admit you initiated contact?" His voice cracked. "Yes. And you lied in your written report?" Silence. "Chase Dalton, Mrs. Alden said, tone crisp. "You will be suspended immediately. Mason, Tyler, your actions also warrant disciplinary action." Mason looked like he might cry. Tyler stared at the floor. Zara didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She simply exhaled a slow release of pressure she'd been holding for too many days. The room went silent the moment Chase Dalton was finally exposed. Mrs. Alden turned to Zara. "As for you, Miss Thompson, while your actions were defensive, we still need additional context. You move like someone with professional training. We need to understand your background." Zara's stomach tightened. This was the part she feared. Because behind the fighting, behind the reflexes, behind the defiance, was a family secret she had spent years trying to outrun. The hearing ended, but the questions had only begun, and the moment Zara stepped out of that room, she knew the next chapter wouldn't be about Chase at all. It would be about the past she never wanted anyone to uncover. The Thompson house sat at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, its porch lights dim, its windows glowing faintly in the evening dusk. Inside, the living room smelled faintly of lavender and old books, familiar, comforting scents that usually calmed Zara. Tonight, they didn't. She paced back and forth, her hands trembling slightly. The events at school, the hearing, the video, the accusations had ripped open a door she'd kept locked for years. A door she wasn't sure she was ready to face again. Her mother, Mrs. Thompson, stepped out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She studied Zara with eyes full of concern. "You're home late," she said softly. Zara swallowed hard. "Mom, we need to talk." Mrs. Thompson froze for a moment, then nodded slowly, knowingly. She sat on the couch and patted the seat beside her. Zara sat, but she couldn't meet her mother's eyes. "There was a hearing today," Zara began. "They asked about my training, my past, Dad's past." Her mother stiffened at the word Dad. "They found the old articles," Zara whispered. "The scandal, the accusations, everything." A long silence followed. Heavy, thick, inevitable. Mrs. Thompson set the towel aside. "Zara, you deserve the truth. The whole truth. Not the headlines. Not the rumors." Zara looked up, waiting. Her mother's voice wavered as she began. "Your father was one of the most talented youth MMA coaches in the circuit. Everyone respected him. Even his competitors. He built champions out of children who had nothing. He believed in discipline, in courage, in fairness." She paused, eyes drifting. "And that made him enemies." Zara felt her chest tighten. "Enemies?" Mrs. Thompson nodded. "The youth league was corrupt. There were teams paying for bracket placements, coaches bribing judges, parents buying wins for their kids. Your father refused to be part of it. He refused to throw fights. He refused to let you or any student be cheated." Zara leaned forward, whispering, "So they framed him." A sad smile touched her mother's lips. "Yes, they did." Her voice grew tight with anger she had kept buried for years. "They accused him of falsifying fighter ages. They claimed he used illegal training methods. None of it was true. Not a word. But once those accusations spread, reporters swarmed. Sponsors withdrew. The league banned him. And the parents he once helped turned their backs." Zara's eyes burned with heat she hadn't felt in years. "Why didn't we fight back?" "We tried," her mother said softly. "But they threatened to expose your identity. They knew you were winning too fast, too young. They wanted to control you, control him, because you were both rising too quickly." Her voice cracked. "Your father walked away from the sport to protect you." Zara's breath hitched. "He gave up his entire career. For me?" Mrs. Thompson nodded, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. "He loved you more than anything. When he saw how the scandal affected you, how the rumors hurt you, he decided the only way to keep you safe was to disappear from the circuit entirely." Zara stared at her hands, overwhelmed by guilt, gratitude, and a new kind of resolve. "All these years," she whispered, "I thought he was ashamed." "No, sweetheart." Her mother reached for her hand. "He sacrificed everything so you could have a normal life." But Zara knew her life was anything but normal now. Brielle, Chase, the videos, the school hearing. She could feel her father's shadow behind every fight, every reflex, every instinct she had tried to bury. "I can't run from it anymore," Zara said, voice steadying. "I can't pretend I'm not who I am." Her mother squeezed her hand. "Then what will you do?" Zara stood slowly, something fierce awakening inside her, something that felt like purpose, like clarity, like destiny. "I'm going to finish what Dad started," she said. "I'm going to fight again, on my own terms." Her mother looked at her with pride and fear woven together. "Are you sure?" Zara nodded. "Absolutely." And as she stepped toward her room, heart pounding with a new mission, she knew the next chapter of her life would not be defined by the scandal, but by the warrior she was about to become. The local martial arts center wasn't glamorous. Its walls were cracked in places, the mats worn down from years of relentless sparring. The air smelled of sweat, tape, and the unmistakable sting of disinfectant. But to Zara, stepping through those doors felt like stepping into another life, one she'd buried but never fully left behind. Inside, a small group of fighters trained under bright fluorescent lights. Heavy bags swung rhythmically, gloves thudded, breath hitched with effort, and in the far corner, a man with salt and pepper hair barked commands, sharp, precise, unmistakable. Coach Rivera, Zara's former instructor, the one person who had believed in her potential before the world ever saw it. He turned at the sound of the door opening. At first, he didn't recognize her. Then his eyes widened. "Amara?" he whispered, using the name she once fought under. Zara nodded. It's been a while. Rivera approached slowly, like he was afraid she'd vanish if he blinked. I thought you quit, I thought. His voice softened. I thought your father's case broke you. It almost did, Zara admitted. But I'm tired of letting the past decide who I get to be. Rivera studied her face, older now, harder, but still carrying that unmistakable fire. So you're here to train again? Zara inhaled. If you'll have me. Rivera didn't hesitate. He waved her onto the mat. Show me what's left. Zara dropped her bag, stepped barefoot onto the mat, and took her stance, a stance her muscles remembered even after years of silence. Rivera circled her, testing her balance, her guard, her timing. Then he struck. Not hard, but faster than anyone who didn't know her history would dare. Zara blocked without thinking. He attacked again. She shifted angles smoothly. A third time, this one a real test. Zara countered, stepping inside his strike and tapping his ribs with a precise elbow. Rivera stopped. A grin spread across his face. You didn't lose it, he said. You've only been waiting. Footsteps echoed behind them. Zara turned to see Coach Henderson standing near the entrance, arms folded, watching with an expression halfway between awe and realization. I had a feeling, Henderson said. I knew those reflexes weren't from high school gymnastics. Zara's cheeks warmed, but she didn't look away. I'm not hiding anymore. Good, Henderson replied. Because you're going to need that strength. Chase is gone. Zara blinked. Gone? What do you mean? Didn't show up to school today, Henderson said. Rumors are flying. People think he ran. Some say his parents pulled him out. He paused. The school is spiraling. Zara wasn't sure how to feel relief, guilt, or unease. Rivera placed a hand on her shoulder. Whatever chaos is happening out there, this place is where you rebuild. Zara nodded, absorbing the weight of his words. She stepped back into her stance, grounding herself. For the first time in years, she wasn't running from her identity. She was stepping into it. And while Zara hit the pads, each strike sharper, faster, stronger, the rest of Brookshire High trembled under the shock of Chase Dalton's sudden disappearance. Brookshire High felt different. Not quieter, never quieter, but charged with an unfamiliar tension. Like the air before a storm. Posters lined the hallways now, plastered across bulletin boards and locker doors. Zero tolerance for bullying. Report harassment immediately. Every student deserves safety. Statements bold enough to impress parents, but shallow enough that most students rolled their eyes at them. Still, everyone knew why they were there. Because of Zara Thompson. Because of the video, both versions of it. Because the school board had been forced to face the truth. Because the students had watched a girl stand up against the most feared boys in school and walk away without flinching. And because Chase Dalton had vanished without a trace, rumors spread like wildfire. He left the state. He's hiding at home. He got kicked out. No, he's suspended forever. My cousin said he's transferring. No one agreed on the details, but they all agreed on one thing: Brookshire High would never be the same. In the main office, Principal Mrs. Alden stood with a stack of freshly printed policy revisions, her tone clipped as she addressed the administrative staff. This school failed to intervene early, she said. From this point forward, harassment of any form, verbal, physical, digital, will result in immediate action. Some teachers nodded with relief. Others exchanged uneasy looks. Change, real change, never came without friction. Across the hall, students buzzed with nervous excitement. I heard they're installing new hallway cameras. Yeah, and adding more supervision near the parking lot. Honestly, it's about time. Still crazy that it all started because that new girl fought back. That new girl, Zara. She walked through the corridor with her backpack slung over one shoulder, her posture straight, her steps steady. Students moved aside, not out of fear now, but out of a strange mixture of respect and curiosity. Some smiled at her, some whispered, some simply stared, unsure whether she was a hero or something even more untouchable. When Zara reached her locker, She found a small note taped to it. "Thank you for standing up." Anonymous. She pulled the note off and held it for a long moment, unsure whether to feel encouraged or exposed. Across the hallway, a group of junior girls glanced at her, then offered hesitant nods. Zara nodded back. The school was changing. Rules were changing. Attitudes were shifting. But inside, Zara felt a quiet storm. In the privacy of her own thoughts, she faced a question she'd avoided for days. Should she speak up publicly? Should she tell the school the truth about who she was and who she used to be? Her father's legacy, her hidden talent, her years of training, her disappearance from the MMA circuit. She could clear the rumors. She could reclaim her identity. She could reshape everything people thought they knew about her. But stepping into the light meant stepping away from the safety of anonymity and opening wounds she wasn't sure had healed. Zara closed her locker and took a steadying breath. Not yet. She wasn't ready. And as the bell rang, echoing through the halls of a school trying to reinvent itself, Zara walked toward her next class, still silent, still watching, still undecided, while destiny waited patiently for her to finally speak. The school gymnasium had never been this full. The bleachers overflowed with students, teachers, and staff. The buzz of restless chatter vibrated through the air, as if the room itself couldn't sit still. The folding chairs on the court were packed, the banners overhead swaying slightly from the hum of the crowd. Rumors had already spread. "Zara Thompson is speaking today." Some came out of respect, some out of curiosity, some out of guilt, and others, those who once cheered for Chase, came because they were afraid of what she might say. The lights dimmed. Principal Alden stepped up to the microphone. "Quiet down, please. Today, we address the events that have shaken this school, and one student has asked to speak." A ripple of whispers surged across the room. Alden looked toward the stage wings. "Zara, whenever you're ready." Zara stepped forward. She wore no makeup, no dramatic outfit, just a simple shirt, jeans, and the quiet strength of someone who had finally stopped running. The room fell silent. She approached the microphone slowly, each footstep echoing across the gym floor. When she reached the podium, she looked out at hundreds of faces, some sympathetic, some skeptical, some ashamed. Her voice began soft, but clear. "My name is Zara Thompson. Some of you know me. Most of you don't." She paused, letting the stillness settle. "You saw the videos, the fights, the rumors, but you didn't see everything." Murmurs rose. She continued, "I didn't come to this school to cause trouble, or to hurt anyone. I came here to disappear, to live quietly after the world turned its back on my family." A few heads dipped, others leaned forward. "My father was framed by people who couldn't stand to see him succeed. I left the sport I loved because I couldn't take the judgment anymore. I couldn't take the lies." Zara's eyes swept the room. "But then, I walked into Brookshire High, and I learned that lies exist everywhere, not just in the MMA circuit. Lies that protect bullies, lies that silence victims, lies that hide behind popularity and privilege." Several teachers exchanged uneasy looks. She continued, "Stronger now. I didn't fight Chase because I wanted to. I fought him because he left me no choice. And I'm not going to apologize for defending myself or anyone else who's ever been targeted." A sharp inhale rippled across the gym. Zara steadied her breath. Bully someone long enough, and they break. Mistreat someone long enough, and they change. Ignore someone long enough, and they disappear. I almost disappeared. Her voice cracked, not from weakness, but from truth. "But I'm done hiding, and none of us should have to hide. I don't care if it's because of race, background, who your parents are, or what rumors people invent about you. Violence, intimidation, and discrimination should never be normal." She stepped back from the microphone, her final words ringing with certainty. "Brookshire can be better than this. We can be better than this. But it starts with telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable." Silence. 1 beat. 2 beats. 3. Then a single clap, then another, then a wave. Within seconds, The entire gymnasium stood, hundreds, rising to their feet, applause erupting like thunder, a standing ovation that washed over Zara like a long-overdue storm breaking open the sky. She didn't smile big, just a small, relieved exhale. For the first time since she arrived at Brookshire, she felt seen. And as the echo of applause filled the gym, Zara stepped away from the microphone, ready for the final step in her journey, the one she had been avoiding until now. The old stadium stood at the edge of town, weathered and half forgotten, its metal gates rusted and its concrete steps cracked with age. Wild grass pushed up through the bleachers, and the fading paint on the sign still read, Tri-State Youth MA Championship, home of tomorrow's fighters. For years, Zara avoided this place. For years, she drove past it with her heart tightening, her chest aching at the memory of what had been stolen from her, her dream, her identity, her childhood wrapped in discipline and determination. Today, she walked inside, alone. The vast emptiness echoed her footsteps as she stepped onto the center mat, the same mat where she had once stood as a champion, the same place where her father had lifted her arm in victory, the same arena that turned into a battlefield the day the scandal broke and her legacy vanished overnight. Zara closed her eyes. For a moment, she heard it again, the roar of the crowd, the slap of gloves, the muffled instructions from the corner, and her father's voice saying, "You don't fight to impress them, Amara. You fight to become who you're meant to be." She inhaled deeply, then opened her eyes. Her posture shifted automatically, feet grounding into the mat, shoulders relaxed, hands lifting into a perfect guard. The stance she had tried so hard to forget felt like coming home. Zara took one step, then another. A pivot, a shift, a strike into the empty air, slow at first, then sharper, stronger, faster. Each movement sliced through the quiet stadium like a declaration. She wasn't afraid anymore. Not of the past, not of the lies, not of her own power. When she finally stopped, her breath came steady, controlled. She stood in the center of the mat, calm, unwavering, reborn. She pulled out her phone, opened the camera, and recorded a single sentence, "I'm coming back." Zara Amara Thompson is returning to MMA. She uploaded it. Not anonymously, not hesitantly, not hiding. Her real name, her real identity, her real strength. As the video posted, she whispered to the empty stadium, "I didn't just beat the bullies. I beat the part of me that was afraid to rise again." With that, she turned and walked toward the sunlight, streaming through the broken doors, leaving behind her past, but carrying her legacy forward. Zara wasn't running anymore. She was ready to fight. And just like that, the bullies who thought they ruled the school finally met the truth they never saw coming. The girl they slapped, mocked, and underestimated didn't just defend herself, she exposed them, the system backing them, and every lie they hid behind. Zara walked out stronger, louder, and impossible to ignore, while they were left facing the consequences they thought would never reach them. So, tell me, whose side were you on the moment everything flipped? Drop your thoughts below. If this story hit you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next twist.